I once received a call on a quiet Tuesday morning. It was from the son of an old patient. "Doctor," he said, his voice trembling. "My father passed away. He was just sitting there eating breakfast. No warning. Just gone." What haunted me wasn't just the silence of his passing. It was knowing that it might have been prevented. I'm Dr. James, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist. For over 30 years, I've worked with thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. And if there's one truth I've seen time and again, it's this. Men don't lose vitality simply because they're aging. They lose it because of subtle, silent habits, especially the ones happening right in their own kitchens. You may not feel pain. You may not have dramatic symptoms, but your circulation could be slowing down quietly, day after day. And when blood flow weakens, everything else begins to unravel. Your energy, your focus, your intimacy, and even your sense of connection with the world around you. What most men don't realize is that the very foods they believe are harmless, or even healthy, can slowly damage the delicate network of blood vessels that fuel their body and their manhood. Sadly, many doctors also overlook the connection between nutrition, vascular health, and male confidence. Take Paul, for example, a 68-year-old retired accountant who came to my office with cold hands and restless nights. But what troubled him most wasn't fatigue. It was the quiet distance growing between him and his wife. They still loved each other, but something was missing. He didn't feel like himself anymore. No response. No closeness. After reviewing his lifestyle, I saw the usual pattern. Low intake of circulation-supporting nutrients, chronic inflammation, and decades of eating out of habit, not intention. We made simple changes, adding fruits high in anthocyanins, increasing hydration, reducing processed fats. The result? Not just better lab numbers, but better evenings, and a warmer, more connected life. And the best part? No prescriptions. No complicated regimens, just the power of mindful choices, starting with the fork in your hand. So if you're over 60 and wondering why you feel tired, disconnected, or like your spark has faded, maybe the problem isn't age. Maybe it's what's been quietly building up on your plate. In today's video, I'll walk you through 5 often overlooked fruits, each one backed by science, easy to find, and surprisingly powerful in helping men restore their circulation, rekindle energy, and bring back that essential feeling of aliveness. Stay with me until the end, because the 5th fruit may be something you've eaten all your life, but never understood its full potential. Now let's move forward, because it's time to give your body what it truly needs, the right care in the simplest form. Now that we've opened the door to how nutrition shapes a man's vitality after 60, let me take you deeper into one of nature's most underestimated gifts, a fruit that's been around for centuries, yet remains largely forgotten when it comes to male health: pomegranate. In my 3 decades of clinical practice, I've seen how men often search for complex solutions while overlooking the profound power of simple, nutrient-dense foods. Pomegranate is one of those rare foods that operates on multiple biological levels. It's not hype. It's biochemistry. Inside every ruby red seed lies a wealth of natural nitrates and polyphenols, compounds shown in numerous peer-reviewed studies to support nitric oxide production. Now, why is nitric oxide so crucial? Because it acts as a messenger molecule, instructing blood vessels to relax and expand. And when vessels relax, blood flows more freely. This isn't just about heart health, it's about whole body vitality. Good circulation fuels everything: your ability to think clearly, maintain energy throughout the day, and yes, experience physical closeness in a way that feels effortless, not forced. Let me tell you about Stephen, a 70-year-old retired engineer who came to me frustrated and fatigued. He had already tried prescription meds for low energy and intimacy concerns, but nothing seemed to restore that inner sense of connection. He didn't need another pill. What he needed was better flow, of oxygen, of nutrients, and of confidence. Q began with something simple: 3 to 4 ounces of fresh pomegranate juice every morning, paired with hydration and light movement. Within a few weeks, Stephen came back with eyes brighter and hands warmer. But what struck me most was when he said, "Doc, I didn't just feel better. I felt closer to her again." That sense of closeness had returned, and it all started with what was in his glass. Science backs this up. Research published in Clinical Nutrition and the Journal of Urology has shown that pomegranate can help reduce arterial plaque, lower blood pressure, and even support testosterone levels in aging. Men, these changes might seem small on paper, but physiologically, they reawaken something deeply human, the desire to connect, to feel, and to express. And here's the thing. Pomegranate doesn't demand perfection. You don't need to become a wellness fanatic overnight. Just a small serving each day can quietly begin to rebuild what years of stress and poor habits have worn down. But pomegranate is only the beginning. In fact, there's a smaller, darker fruit, one you've likely seen in the frozen aisle, that holds a secret advantage when it comes to reversing vascular stiffness and reigniting desire. Let's move forward and talk about that. Just last year, I met a man named Richard, 73, a retired high school principal. Sharp, well-spoken, the kind of man who once commanded attention in a room. But when he sat in my office, he spoke softly, almost with embarrassment. He said, "Doctor, emotionally, we're fine, but physically, it feels like the lights are on and the wiring's just not working." That phrase stuck with me. Richard had been through rounds of medications, relationship counseling, and even hormone tests, all of which showed normal. But no one had addressed the most overlooked variable, blood flow. When I asked him about his daily fruit intake, he shrugged. Maybe an apple now and then. No mention of berries, especially not blueberries. And yet that's where our journey began. Because sometimes the solution isn't another scan or prescription. It's what's missing from your plate. In you. Just a moment. I'll show you how this humble little fruit can do more for your vascular health than most supplements on the shelf. But before we dive in, remember this. Your body doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency, nourishment, and a little curiosity. And it starts with opening your mind, perhaps even your freezer drawer. Now let's move forward and uncover how this small fruit can unlock the vitality you thought was gone for good. After introducing Richard to the idea that poor circulation, not age or chemistry alone, might be the missing piece, I asked him a simple question. "What fruits do you typically eat?" He mentioned apples, sometimes grapes. But when I brought up blueberries, he paused and admitted he hadn't touched them in years. That's when I knew where we needed to begin. Blueberries, especially wild ones, are like tiny vascular repair tools disguised as fruit. They're rich in a group of compounds called anthocyanins. These are the same antioxidants that give blueberries their deep indigo hue. But their beauty runs deeper than color. What anthocyanins really do is fascinating. They actively restore flexibility to aging blood vessels. You see, as we age, our arteries gradually lose their elasticity. They become stiffer, less responsive. And this rigidity doesn't just affect blood pressure, it restricts oxygen delivery to vital organs, including the brain, the heart, and yes, the delicate network that supports arousal and intimacy. But anthocyanins work to reverse this. They calm inflammation, reduce oxidative stress, and help repair the endothelium, the thin inner lining of blood vessels that controls their tone and function. When that lining is damaged, everything suffers. When it's restored, blood flows, like it used to. I encouraged Richard to start with something simple. Just half a cup of blueberries a day. Fresh or frozen, it didn't matter. What mattered was consistency. 2 weeks later, he sent me an email. Not about blood pressure, not about lab results, but about life. He and his wife had started dancing again. Just a slow sway in the living room, he said. But for the first time in years, I felt present, like myself. That's the quiet magic of circulation. It doesn't just move blood. It brings you back into your body, your relationships, and your confidence. So if you're watching this and wondering whether a few berries can make that much difference, consider this. Studies from Harvard and Tufts have shown that diets rich in anthocyanins are associated with lower cardiovascular risk, better cognitive performance, and improved vascular tone. It's not theory, it's data, and it's life-changing when applied daily. Now let's move forward, because once blood starts flowing freely again, there's another piece of the puzzle we need to address: hormonal balance. That's when I met Alan, a 69-year-old retired woodworker. He had done everything right: cut back on junk food, reduced his sodium, walked every evening. But something was still missing. "We sit beside each other every night," he told me, "but I feel like I'm a mile away." It wasn't about love. It was the absence of warmth, the spark that once felt automatic. His voice cracked slightly as he admitted, "I just don't feel anything anymore." When I reviewed his diet, I noticed something critical: an absence of healthy fats. So I asked, "Do you eat any?" He looked puzzled. "I've been avoiding fats for years. Aren't they what clog the arteries?" That's a myth we urgently need to correct. I introduced Alan to avocado. Most men are shocked when I tell them that this creamy fruit is one of the best allies for your heart and hormone health. Rich in monounsaturated fats, avocados actually support the structure of your blood vessels while lowering harmful LDL cholesterol. But their real magic lies in what else they offer: potassium, more than bananas, and two crucial vitamins, B6 and folate. Together, these nutrients help stabilize blood pressure and support testosterone synthesis. Why does that matter? Because testosterone affects far more than libido. It governs energy, mood, muscle preservation, and the quiet confidence that makes a man feel like himself. Alan began by adding half an avocado to his breakfast or tossing slices into his salad. Within 3 weeks, his mood lifted. His wife told me he'd begun laughing again, something he hadn't done much in months. That subtle shift? It wasn't from medication. It came from restoring the building blocks his body had been quietly begging for. So if you've been avoiding fats out of fear, this is your invitation to rethink. The right kinds of fat don't harm your heart. They fuel it. And when combined with fruits that support blood flow, the result isn't just better numbers, it's better living. By the time Alan began to feel more like himself again, it became clear: restoring blood flow was only one piece of the puzzle. The next step was supporting hormonal balance, the often overlooked force behind male energy, drive, and emotional stability. That's where healthy fats come in. Now, I know this might surprise some of you. For decades, men have been told to avoid fat at all costs. Fat clogs arteries, they say. But that's an oversimplification, one that has done more harm than good. The truth is, not all fats are created equal, and some, like the monounsaturated fats found in avocados, are essential, especially after age 60. Avocados are nutritional gold. They help lower LDL cholesterol while supporting the integrity and flexibility of your blood vessels. But what truly sets them apart is their potassium content, surprisingly even higher than bananas. Potassium helps relax the walls of blood vessels, naturally lowering blood pressure, which is critical in maintaining healthy circulation in older adults. But there's more. Avocados contain vitamin B6 and folate, two key nutrients that play a direct role in the body's ability to produce testosterone. And as testosterone levels decline with age, so too do energy, desire, and a man's natural sense of confidence. Let me share a story with you. David, a 66-year-old jazz pianist, came to see me not for a medical emergency, but because he felt like his rhythm was off. "I've still got the notes," he joked, "but I've lost the groove." He wasn't sleeping well, his blood pressure was creeping up, and he said intimacy had become a memory instead of a moment. I asked him about his diet. Sure enough, he had cut out nearly all fats. He thought he was doing the right thing. I recommended he reintroduce half an avocado a day, on whole grain toast, in a salad, or even blend it into a smoothie. 3 weeks later, he came back. Blood pressure down, mood up. But more importantly, he told me he felt grounded again. Present. Not just surviving, but playing in tune with life. That's what the right fats can do. They don't just nourish your body. They help it reconnect with your mind, your partner, and your purpose. Now let's move forward, Because once blood vessels are more elastic and your hormones begin to rebalance, we need to look at another often misunderstood piece of this puzzle: nitric oxide. This molecule plays a crucial role in how blood flows, especially to the areas most affected by age-related decline. And this brings us to an unexpected hero: watermelon. Frank, a 71-year-old retired Navy officer, had seen more than his fair share of challenges. A man of discipline and pride, he hesitated before confiding in me. "It's not that I don't love her. I just don't respond anymore." What he described, numbness, sluggishness, and quiet shame, is more common than most men will ever admit. When we assessed his lifestyle, the problem was clear: restricted blood flow, particularly in the pelvic region. When I asked about watermelon, he laughed. "Isn't that just a summer snack?" But here's what most people don't know. The pale, pink flesh closest to the rind contains citrulline, an amino acid that helps the body produce nitric oxide. This natural compound works much like certain prescription medications, but without the side effects. It gently relaxes blood vessels and supports more complete, efficient circulation. For men over 60, that matters a great deal. As arteries stiffen with age, flow to the lower body decreases, leading to delayed response, weaker performance, and the frustrating disconnect between intention and physiology. But once you provide your body with the right support, nutrients, that encourage vasodilation and oxygen delivery, everything begins to shift. Not by force, not through pills, but by giving your biology what it's been silently asking for. Within a month of adding watermelon to his daily routine, just a few slices in the morning, Frank returned with a spark in his eye. "It's like I've woken up," he said. "Not just below the belt, but everywhere." That's what proper circulation does. It doesn't just restore function, it restores presence. So the next time you pass by a watermelon, don't think of it as a treat. Think of it as nature's way of handing you back your vitality, one bite at a time. As we move forward from the hormone-boosting power of avocado, there's one more fruit that deserves the spotlight. Not just for its refreshing taste, but for its incredible ability to restore circulation and vitality in a way that's gentle, natural, and scientifically sound. I'm talking about watermelon. Yes, that familiar summer favorite. But behind its juicy sweetness lies a powerful secret that many older men overlook. Watermelon is made up of over 90% water, making it an ideal hydrating food. And when it comes to circulation, hydration isn't just helpful, it's essential. Blood is over 50% plasma, and plasma is mostly water. If you're even mildly dehydrated, your blood thickens, your vessels constrict, and circulation slows down. That alone can lead to fatigue, poor performance, and a sense of disconnect from your body and even from your partner. But watermelon brings more than water. It's loaded with lycopene, a potent antioxidant that helps protect blood vessels from oxidative stress. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that higher lycopene intake is linked to improved endothelial function, the inner lining of your blood vessels that controls dilation, blood flow, and pressure. One of my patients, Thomas, a 70-year-old, retired firefighter, had been feeling increasingly disconnected, not just emotionally but physically. His blood pressure was creeping up, energy was down, and intimacy with his wife had faded into distant memory. He didn't need a prescription. What he needed was reconnection to his body, to his health, and to something simple. I suggested he begin each morning with a slice of watermelon, especially the lighter part of the flesh near the rind, which contains a high concentration of citrulline, an amino acid that helps the body produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It relaxes blood vessels, allowing blood to flow freely, especially to the areas where it's most needed. You might recognize this mechanism. It's how many prescription medications work. But citrulline does it naturally, without the side effects. Within 3 weeks, Thomas came back to see me, not for a refill, but to say something I won't forget. "Doc, it's like someone plugged the power back in. I feel clearer, stronger, and for the first time in a long time, present." Watermelon didn't just rehydrate his body. It helped him re-enter his life. His energy improved, laughter returned, and gradually, so did the warmth in his marriage, not just physically, but emotionally. And that's the key. Real healing, real vitality, isn't about one pill or one moment. It's about daily choices that slowly rebuild your connection to yourself. Choices like this simple fruit, eaten with purpose and understanding. But even the best efforts can be undermined if we forget one last piece of the puzzle. There's a fruit, humble, often overlooked, that holds the final key. It doesn't come from exotic jungles or expensive superfood aisles. In fact, it might be sitting on your kitchen counter right now. It's rich in potassium, calming to the heart, supportive of nerve function, and surprisingly powerful in restoring emotional and physical connection. Let's talk about it next. Because sometimes the most powerful remedies are the ones we've walked past every day. Now that we've seen how watermelon quietly reawakens circulation and restores vitality, it's time to complete the picture with one final fruit. It's not rare. It's not expensive. In fact, you may have walked past it in your kitchen this morning without a second thought. I'm talking about the banana. Often dismissed as just a kid's snack or a pre-workout bite, the humble banana holds something far more profound, especially for older men who feel increasingly distant from the energy, intimacy, and connection they once had. Let me tell you about Robert, a 72-year-old former school principal, a man of structure and wisdom, but lately he'd been struggling with something he couldn't quite name. His sleep was fragmented, his heart would race without reason, and the emotional closeness he once shared with his wife of 5 decades had faded into polite distance. As he put it, "I'm here, but I don't feel here anymore." When I reviewed his lifestyle, nothing extreme stood out, except one pattern. He had drastically reduced his intake of carbohydrates and fruits, hoping to manage his blood pressure and weight. A well-meaning strategy, but one with unintended consequences. You see, in doing so, Robert had unknowingly deprived his body of potassium, one of the most crucial minerals for cardiovascular balance at his age. Potassium plays a silent but essential role in the body. It helps maintain a steady heartbeat, reduces vascular tension, and balances sodium levels in the blood. For older men whose vessels naturally become less elastic over time, this mineral becomes a key player in restoring blood flow where it matters most, not just to the heart, but to the deeper tissues responsible for sensation, engagement, and intimacy. But there's more. Bananas also offer a gentle supply of vitamin B6, an often overlooked nutrient that supports nerve function and emotional regulation. As circulation improves and nerve signals become sharper, men often report a renewed sense of presence, not just in the bedroom but in everyday life. It's as though the fog begins to lift. Inspired by this, I encouraged Robert to reintroduce bananas into his daily routine, not as a diet trick, but as a symbolic return to balance. He started eating, one in the evening about an hour before bedtime. Nothing dramatic, just a small, intentional change. Within weeks, he came back to me, not to talk about blood pressure, but to share a quiet breakthrough. One evening, his wife had reached out to hold his hand during a walk, and in that moment, something shifted. "I felt it," he said, his eyes misty. "Not just her touch, but myself again, like I'd come home." That's what real healing often looks like. Subtle, gentle, but deeply human. You see, bananas don't work because they're trendy or exotic. They work because they restore the basics: heart rhythm, vessel flexibility, nerve clarity, emotional grounding. And for many older men, these are the very foundations of connection, both to others and to themselves. Of course, no single fruit is a magic bullet, but when combined, pomegranate, blueberries, avocado, watermelon, and now banana, they create a daily rhythm of nourishment that supports circulation, hormone balance, and the quiet confidence that so many men seek after 60. And here's the takeaway. Healing isn't always loud or complicated. Sometimes it begins with something as ordinary as a banana placed back on the plate, with intention, consistency, and the understanding that even the simplest choices can change the way we feel, move, and love. So if you've followed me this far, you already know, it's not just about food. It's about choosing to reconnect with life one thoughtful bite at a time. Now let's talk about how to make these new habits last, not just for today, but for the years ahead. In just a few minutes, we've explored 5 fruits, each with its own quiet power: pomegranate, blueberry, avocado, watermelon, and banana. Together, they form a circle of support for your heart, your circulation, your hormones, and most importantly, your sense of connection. Not just physical closeness, but emotional presence. And that matters more than we often admit. The truth is, aging isn't a decline. It's a turning point. And every man deserves to know that vitality isn't behind him. It's waiting just ahead, in the everyday decisions we make. A slice of watermelon in the morning, a banana at night, a moment of intention in how we choose to nourish ourselves. These are not small things. They're signals to your body that it still matters. I've spent decades sitting across from men who thought their best years were gone, men who felt invisible in their own homes. But I've watched them reawaken, not with magic pills or surgeries, but with consistent, nourishing choices. The body remembers. It wants to heal. And sometimes all it needs is a reason. So maybe this video is that reason for you. A quiet nudge. A reminder that health doesn't start in a doctor's office. It starts on your plate, in your breath, in your decision to show up for yourself again. If something in this message stirred you, even just a little, I invite you to act, not tomorrow. Today. Choose one fruit, one small act of care. Let it be the first of many. And if you found this helpful, I hope you'll share your story or your thoughts in the comments. Your experience could inspire someone else just starting their journey. Feel free to like this video if it brought value to your day, and if you'd like to see more guidance like this, consider subscribing and turning on the bell. No pressure. Just know that every bit of encouragement helps us keep bringing you the support you deserve. Because this is just the beginning.